Yeah, hello. Just talking about animals with when you find yourself on your own. In my case, I can't hold this phone properly. Right. In my case, I don't know if you've seen my other videos before this, but I recently lost my partner, and it was, you know, I look back on it and it was bliss. I was happy. I was content. I didn't want for anything. Uh, you know, bit too content, bit too happy with such a thing. That was me. Anyway, my biggest fear all the time was ending up on my own one day. You know, I know there's things that a person can do to get out there and experience life, but I, I'm still in love, and I don't want to go out there and find somebody else. Not yet, anyway. I mean, it don't feel right. It's too early. I'm still grieving. It was only 2 months ago. And but at the same time, I'm shaking the camera. But at the same time, loneliness doesn't let up. Excuse me. Loneliness doesn't let up. It comes creeping in. Luckily, I've developed quite a good temperament for it. Is that the word for it? Temperament? No, that's my temper, isn't it? No, I've developed quite a good. I don't know. I just can. I'm handling myself a little bit better than I would have done when I was in my 20s. But what I want to talk about is animals. I was never much of a cat person myself. I've always loved cats. Don't get me wrong, but they've always been somebody else's cat really. When I lived at home, my mum had a cat when I was a kid. Well, we had a few cats, and I think when I was really young, I really loved Sooty. I think she was called Sooty. But all kids do love cats. Well, I say all kids. These days, kids, well, they love cats. Yeah, with fireworks attached to them. But anyway, what I'm getting at anyway is Cassie used to say to me if she ended up on her own, she would surround herself with cats. And I used to nod, but my understanding at that time was that if that was me, if it was role reversal, cats would never do it for me. They would never, they would just become an irritation because, like I say, living with cats, it can. I could have. I didn't have to have the cats around me to be happy, whereas Cassie had shown this side of her where she developed a unique relationship with the cat or the cats, and I admired that. I used to think that's quite nice, but I don't think that'd ever happen with me. But in this 2 months where I've been on my own, and I've gone to hell and back, the whole time I've been on my own, I haven't. I've had the little cat next to me, and a couple of times I've felt like she's looked round at me when I've been upset, and then she may have even come over at that moment and jumped on me and distracted me and broke my mood. And as Cassie used to say, the cat knows I'm poorly, she'd say when she was ill, and I'd think, yeah, that could be true. I don't really know, but now that I'm thinking of it, I sense that that I call it the cat. It's Suey. She's called Suey, and she's a family member with me now. I can't describe how important the Suey is at helping me deal with the emptiness. The grieving. Suey doesn't help me with the grieving. I have to go through that. I have to walk through that on my own. I'm on my own with the grieving, yes. Sui offered a distraction. But as I'm starting to come out the other end of the grieving, or if I'm reaching the peak of it, I don't know, but as I'm starting to feel change in the grieving, I'm also beginning to realise that Sui has been there the whole time. And the feeling that she's given me is of a little bit more than an animal. There's some sort of kindred spirit connection going on. There really is. I mean, we don't know what animals think. We don't really know. I mean, I'm fairly sure animals have got a conscious mind, conscious mind. Excuse my lisp. And I am sure that cats have got emotions, but I don't know how they perceive reality. Do they perceive things the same as us? I mean, you know, we live in like a weird state of sort of like a schizophrenia, all of us, don't we? We're constantly talking to ourselves and whatnot. And cats and dogs seem to have a quick way of doing things. Yes, no, feed me, sleep. You know, but they do have emotions. You can see that, can't you? You can see they get upset. You can see they get angry. That's emotions for you. So, and what I'm getting at is, my point is that there's a bridging of, I'm going to get all scientific here, aren't I? There's like a feeling like I'm bridging a gap between me and little Sui, a connection that I never had before. And she's here for me. She's not being like a human and always popping her head in and saying, "You alright, you alright, you alright," which is a human's attempt at trying to do something, but she's there for me. I feel her there for me. This is exactly what Cassie would have said to me if she had chance before she left. Before she went, she would have said, "Sui will look after you." I know for a fact she would have said that. If she'd have got the chance to say it to me, she would have said, "Sui will look after you, you'll be okay. And you'll look after Sui." And that's what's happening. There's a ritual going on between me and the cat, and between me and Sui. And we're looking after each other. I'm feeding her, taking care of her. But at the same time, there's a spiritual connection going on. She can't physically do things for me or anything. She can't be responsible for me. What she can do, though, is she can offer this kindred friendship. And it really is there. I'm beginning to feel, you know, nothing can replace two humans in a relationship, can it? But I think a lot of people, my point of this video is, if you're watching this and you've been thinking about, worried about being lonely, there is an option there. Animals. I'm surprised, I really am, at how nice it is to have that other living creature in the place with me. When Cassie first went, the first few days, Sue was just walking around, and to me she was just a ball of fluff on 4 legs walking around. I loved her and I love her, but it wasn't the same as it is now. At the moment now, I'll get that. I don't know if you know, when the house is empty and when a house has got somebody in it, there's a difference in a feeling, even though there's no sound from that person. There's a difference. Things sort of sound different. Maybe. But I know what I'm talking about, but I don't know if I'm putting it forward right enough. But the thing is, because Sue's in here, she's starting to feel that horrible, numbing, deafening emptiness. You know, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that don't know what I'm talking about, and hopefully I hope you never have to find out. I hope you're surrounded by people you love all your life, but if ever you come to an occasion where you're going to be lonely for a while, or maybe for a long time, consider an animal, consider a pet. Give it time. She's definitely offering me some respite from the grief that I'm going through. And as a result of that, I now owe her. I owe her, and I am paying her back. I owe her because just taking you out of that moment for just a moment, that pain of grief, just taking you out of it for one moment. You couldn't purchase that with money. It's priceless. And sometimes she'll distract me, which is it's almost taking me out. But then it reminds me that there is another living creature here, and then sometimes she'll give me warmth, and it's not human warmth, but it's still a warmth. She'll come up and she'll cuddle me and she'll headbutt my nose, and I get fluff on my face. I might have been upset and I'm like this, and all of a sudden I'm giggling or I'm laughing, and she's looking at me and she stares at me in the eyes, and I think to myself, wow. And that moment has changed. And, animals, pets. Don't underestimate your little cat or your dog or whatever. Maybe you don't. Maybe you know more than I know now. I don't know. But I'm just saying it. Grieving. Don't grieve alone. You can't go out on the street and drag a person indoors, can you? People are complicated. Animals aren't complicated. They can be, but they're not complicated in the sense that that they're there for us, aren't they? They don't talk back. You hear all that all the time, don't you? They don't talk back. They don't judge. It goes further than that with me at the minute. There's a real connection. Where is she? She's on a nap. You see, just on a nap makes me feel like I'm serving a purpose. I'm facilitating her in having a nap. I'll have her food ready later. I've got a ritual planned for that. And ritual is important, but it's not just I have to do it. Whereas when you haven't got an animal indoors with you, or anything indoors with you, and you're lonely, that moment flicks in your head. I don't know if you've had the same experience, but a moment flicks in your head when you're on your own. You think, I don't really ever have to move from this spot where I'm sitting now. And that's terrifying. You can wake up in the morning and you don't have to do anything. It's important to do it, to brush your teeth, to wash your face, to go to the toilet, but you don't have to. There's nothing forcing you. Having a pet around, you have to feed that cat, that dog, or whatever. You have to, or it's going to starve. And deep depression can bring on that sort of symptom. So what you do is you have to feed your animals. So it's breaking. I'm not depressed. I'm just saying it's breaking that that element there, taking out something out of the equation to cause depression, and it helps. It's not a cure. It helps with the grief. Definitely. Now I would go as far to say that works for anybody. If you're on your own, don't be. Try and get a little animal. Yeah, that's my advice anyway. And I'm sure at some point everybody at least has a little while on their own where they feel lonely. I'm not saying go out and run out and get a dog because you're on your own for a weekend. No, what I mean is though, just in case, if ever it happens where you're lonely for a long, long time, and you're facing the option of not having to go out and meet somebody new, because to be honest, I'm not bothered at the moment because I'm not ready, but I've got a lot of things I want to deal with first. But just saying, I'm going to say it again, Anna, an animal. There you go. Right. Take care. Bye.